Welcome back to our series of reviews where we review the entire Lone Wolf and Cub series. We broke down the series into 3 parts, reviewing 2 movies per episode. Last time we did Sword of Vengeance and Baby Cart at the River Styx. You can check out that episode on the channel. In this episode, we will be going through Baby Cart to Hades and Baby Cart in Peril. If YouTube does not completely claim this one in its entirety, it should be a lot of fun. Honestly, this series so far to me has been like watching a live-action anime. I have mentioned that in the previous episode. These movies completely embrace the source material and everything that comes with it. It is cheesy and over the top when it needs to, but never forgets to inject a ton of heart in the story and build these characters up. We can go from Daigoro turning his baby cart into a Batmobile to him looking for food in the wild to feed his sick father. That's pretty much what this series has been so far. And it has what I wish more series of films in this era would have, and that's a consistency in its storytelling. The story is linear, and we know who the antagonists are and why they are the bad guys in this story, which makes it a lot easier to stay invested and root for the heroes. My hope is that this next set of films can continue to build on what I consider to be a very solid foundation. Well, without further ado, let's dive into our next set of films. Lone Wolf and Cub, Baby Cart to Hades. The movie opens with Ito and Daigoro trying to cross the river by boat. And we get immediately introduced to this female character who is arguing with what seems to be a boss or an honor. She drops her stuff in the water and they are immediately picked up by Daigoro. And already, let me tell you, I already liked him, but this movie is the one that officially made me a Daigoro fan. I love the fact that he keeps growing with each film, getting more and more involved and being more active. In this film, he's not just active, he activates his aura with an insane amount of reeds. Like, damn, even his father looks impressed. Anyway, Ito early on detects that they are being followed, probably by the members of the Yagyu clan, his sworn enemies. They later on attack Ito and Daigoro, but he manages to dispose of them with ease. What follows is my least favorite part of this movie, and what seems to be a recurrent theme in these movies. Or at least from what I've seen so far. So these guys, who are what they call in this movie hired hands, spot 2 women along the road. They attack the ladies and force themselves on them. This is just the 3rd film in the series, and this is like the 4th scene to depict sexual assault. It's like these movies know only one way to make me hate characters, and it's by making them creeps who see women as objects, or more precisely with rape scenes. Like, I understand that it's a depiction that relates to the time period, I get that part, but this scene specifically could have been handled better in my opinion, because right after, these douchebags get all killed. One gets killed by another hired hand who tried to cover up the whole crime, and the other 2 by Ito right after, who happened to be walking by. Like, I understand that the scene still progressed the story because this samurai character Kanbei trying to cover up the mess of his colleagues led to Ito passing by and witnessing the crime, which forced the other 2 to attack him and get killed, and for Kanbei to challenge him to a duel. But this is also a scene that lasts a lot longer than it needed to, and considering it's not the first time we have had such a scene and not even the last time we get one in this movie, it's starting to feel like a bit much. I don't know, maybe I'm just too soft for this. After that, Kanbei recognizes Ito and requests a duel now that Ito is involved. Ito accepts and they prepare to fight. But at the last second, Ito changes his mind and declares the duel to be a draw. For very unclear reasons, to be honest, but whatever. Right after that, we found that the girl from the boat was bought by this guy to be sold into prostitution. But then he also tries to assault the poor lady. But fortunately this time, the woman defends herself by biting the guy's tongue and he dies. You go, girl. However, now the girl is in trouble because she just committed murder, so she seeks refuge in Ito's room, who steps in to protect her from the local officials. But the town's real authorities show up, the Yakuza, led by a woman named Torizo from the Koshio clan. If the woman won't go into prostitution, her other option is to go through a ritual called buriburi, which consists of getting beat to death. Ito proposes to step in and take the girl's place in the ritual so she can be free after. Ito endures the torture and the young woman is free from prostitution and was never seen again. I really have a problem with characters that go away halfway through the movie because then they really feel pointless. She's literally the first character we see when the movie opens. Before we even see Ito, what do you mean she's leaving? I'm not going to call it bad writing, but it feels just sloppy and like a waste of my time. The movie could have literally just started here and skipped the whole boat scene and nothing would have changed. Do not make dramatic introductions to characters who clearly don't matter. Just show her getting assaulted here and have her run to Ito's room after. Literally nothing changes. Ito will still help her because that's the kind of person he is. And the story still unfolds how it's supposed to. So next, Torizo, after getting Ito beaten unconscious, introduces him to her father. It turns out her father is part of a noble clan called the Kakegawa clan, and he knows Ito from his old days as an executioner. Her father lost his arm one day trying to restrain one of his clan members who was resisting execution from Ito. They want Ito to kill Sawatari Genba, who sold out the Kakegawa clan to become governor of the district of Totomi. Ito obviously agrees. However, the same guy calls on Ito to also ask to hire him to kill some minister, but Ito declines, which makes Sawatari assume that Ito must have been hired to kill him. Meanwhile, Ito gets attacked by the Yagyu clan ninjas in a very satisfying fight scene. Okay, let me just say this. This is not the most satisfying story so far in the series, but the fight scenes at least have remained consistent. They are still engaging, brutal, bloody, and very, very creative. The following day, Ito meets up with the governor's bodyguards, and this movie at this moment just decides to go insane. Daigoro at first presses some buttons and the cart barricades itself. I don't even know what material this cart is made of at this point. But then, at some point, the fight became too much for Ito, so he said, enough is enough, and pulls out machine guns out of the baby cart. Ito just went from using the baby cart as the Batmobile to turning it into a literal tank. Man, I love these movies. All the government's men are dead, but Ito nearly gets into trouble when the governor chases after him with a gun, but he also picks up a gun and shoots the guy. I like how these movies are embracing the existence of guns and other weapons that are supposed to be superior to a typical sword and finds new ways for our protagonists to overcome them. I think that's pretty dope. Kanbei, the Ronin we met earlier, appears at the end of the battle and demands his duel with Ito. This time, Ito goes through with it and of course wins the duel. The Ronin tells the story of how he was cast away by his master despite saving his life and questions Ito about the Bushido code. It's a very good moment in the story because it puts into question samurai traditions that were kind of morally confused, and it was a good discussion that within a better context would have made for a very interesting story. Unfortunately, it didn't have a place in this movie specifically. Kanbei felt out of place, his story felt out of place, this scene did not need to happen, and the point his monologue was trying to make did not belong here at all. So after Ito kills him and walks away, I started to get flashbacks from some of the bad Zatoichi films. Movies that were bad because they used to approach some of their stories this way, which made the whole thing feel unfocused and messy. And what do you know? Shintaro Katsu was a producer on this movie. Coincidence? I think not. Anyway, Lone Wolf and Cub Baby Cart to Hades was fine. I did not hate it, but if it was an anime, this would probably be a filler episode. Nothing memorable happened here, the plot was all over the place, the side characters were kind of mishandled, and it could have been a little more focused story-wise. With that being said, it was still a good time. The fight scenes continue to stand out, Ito and Daigoro's relationship keeps growing with each film. I like the part where Ito was playing with Daigoro by the water. That was cute. I like how Daigoro's personality keeps growing as well. He is a great character, he complements Ito perfectly and they are an amazing duo. Like I said, I like how these movies embrace their silliness sometimes. I don't know who's building this baby cart for Ito, but that guy must be a genius. Either that or Ito is secretly an engineer who's silently innovating and creating military level defense systems. Either way, I'm entertained and that's all that matters really. Also, I like the fact that the Yagyu clan still had a presence even though they were not the main antagonists. I just hope they will be back in full force in the next one. Overall, it was an okay movie that could have been better. I'm going to give Lone Wolf and Cub Baby Cart to Hades a 6 out of 10. Moving on. Lone Wolf and Cub Baby Cart in Peril. This movie wastes absolutely no time. From the first scene, we are introduced to Oyuki, a female assassin on the verge of being executed, when she immediately decimates all the men after her. Honestly, this movie is already awesome in my book because the very first shot is a girl's nipple. Ogami Ito is hired to kill Oyuki. The most notable detail about the woman's body is her tattoos, so Ito tracks down the tattoo artist who gives him a long detailed history about the lady and her high tolerance for pain. Important detail because I still remember crying like a little girl when getting mine, so this is a very tough girl and this movie wants to make it clear. We then reach a very interesting point in the movie where Daigoro loses sight of his father and gets lost. I was really invested in this plot point because it isolates Daigoro as a character. I was expecting Ito struggling to find his son while Daigoro goes through hell trying to survive without his father's protection. And that kind of happened, just not the way I hoped for and not for that long. The movie uses this plot point instead to introduce another character, a ronin named Ganbei Yagyu, a former samurai from the Yagyu clan who's got history with Ito. He meets Daigoro and tries to kill him because he could perceive the darkness in the kid's eyes. That's when Ito shows up. Like I said, this plot point went away really fast. But it doesn't matter because what grabbed my attention here is how crazier and crazier this universe continues to be. We get a flashback showing a duel between Ganbei and Ito, a duel for the position of Shogun Executioner. Ganbei wins the duel, but he ends up mistakenly pointing his sword at the Shogun, a taboo sword movement that costs him the job and makes him an outcast. The head of the Yagyu clan, who seems to have gained a few pounds from the last time we saw him.
Actually, it's just a different actor.
I got that part, Kelex. It's called a joke, alright? Anyway, the man is furious at Ganbei, but won't kill him because he values his sword skills. So, he asked one of the clan members to become Ganbei. I went absolutely crazy when this guy did the Mission Impossible mask thing. But that's not all. The man wore Ganbei's face and calmly accepted to be decapitated to help the clan fake Ganbei's death. Like at this point, I want a Lone Wolf and Cub anime. And I don't mean a manga adaptation. No, I want to see what these movies look like in animation form. Like they're literally live action anime. It's insane. Anyway, Ito and Ganbei now have their rematch. But Ito is a much better fighter now and is more than ready for Ganbei. With a swift stroke, he chops off Ganbei's arm. Ganbei then begs Ito to kill him, but Ito refuses. Because to him, there is nothing to be gained from slaying a man who is already dead. That's cold. Oh, and the female assassin, yeah. By this point in the movie, I completely forgot about this woman. And that to me is a problem. The way this movie is structured is just weird. But more on that later. After a series of investigations, Ito locates the girl at an isolated hot spring and witnesses her in action against more assassins who have come to try to kill her. Oyuki's story is explained and it turns out that she's a rape survivor and her aggressor is a former master. She deserted him and went on to get her tattoos, and it turns out that the guy has the power of hypnosis. So she puts tattoos on her boobs to counter his hypnosis, which is how he got her the first time. So after killing the assassins that were after her master shows up. He tries to hypnotize her again. She shows him her boobs and it works, and she kills him. Bro, these movies are insane, bro. After she kills her master, she has a duel with Ito and he kills her. But I don't even mind because it's a beautiful death. Oyuki accomplished her mission and is happy leaving this world with dignity. A fitting end to a great warrior. But wait, there is another 20 minutes left? What the hell? Now the movie decides to go back to a plot point introduced in the first 20 minutes of the film, and that was never mentioned again. The head of the Yagyu clan has manipulated a local governor into bringing in Ito while Ito was spending some time with Oyuki's father. I know I skipped this part, but it's not really important. The military guys kill Oyuki's father and arrest Ito. But obviously Ito has machine guns in his baby cart, so he uses the boss as human shield to escape. But they are immediately attacked by the Yagyu clan, who are determined to end Ito's life at all costs. The governor is killed in the crossfire and Ito manages to kill all of the Yagyu clan members by himself. He faces off against the head of the Yagyu clan in a fight that I honestly thought he was going to lose. This is the first time I genuinely thought it was over for Ito. But he manages to pull through as he always does, stabs the leader of the Yagyu in the eye and kills the rest of his enemies. Daigoro finds Ito, who commands him to pull the sword from his back. Despite being severely wounded, Ito carries Daigoro to the cart and slowly pushes it away. Then we get this really dramatic speech from Ganbei, who is watching Ito from afar and is happy that Ito survived, as he vows to be the one to send him to hell. At the end, guys, I kind of enjoyed this movie, but it felt a lot like two different stories fighting for the audience's attention. The fact that I genuinely forgot about the female assassin because the movie took me to a completely different direction for half an hour says it all. It starts with Oyuki being introduced, Ito being offered the job to kill her. Then the movie forgets about it to have the subplot about Daigoro getting lost. Then the movie wants us to focus on Ganbei and his past with Ito. Then out of the blue, we are back worrying about Oyuki and the movie puts the focus back on her. Then when she dies, despite her death feeling like the movie's conclusion, we get another 20 minutes. The final battle is cool and I really had fun with it. But it just doesn't feel like the movie was building towards it. It just happened. You cut Ganbei completely out of this movie and nothing changes. You remove that subplot about Daigoro getting lost and nothing changes. They are just unnecessary story elements that did not pay anything off, and as a result, the movie's pacing feels horrible. I love that these movies embrace the goofiness and are not afraid of going crazy and being unrealistic. I love that Ito keeps adapting to his enemies having guns by having a set of machine guns in the baby cart. It just justifies why he needs the baby cart at all times, despite the fact that Daigoro is grown enough to walk on his own. I just want to know who's mounting these gadgets for him. That's really the question here. Anyway, fun movie with bad pacing, but I wouldn't mind rewatching it if I felt like it. I'm giving Lone Wolf and Cub Baby Cart in Peril a 6.5 out of 10. Well, that's it for now. I said I was going to be doing 2 movies per episode, and that's what I'm going to do. I was tempted to do all the remaining movies in one go, but it's a journey and I don't want to rush through it. So in the final episode of this series of reviews, I will do the last 2 and then rank all of them as we always do. Anyway, it was a pleasure as always. I know the uploads have slowed down a little bit. Like I said in my previous video, I'm working on a comic book, and besides that, there are lots and lots of things happening in my life right now that are taking my time and attention. But in regards to the channel, I've got lots of goodies as well. I'm currently working on a mini documentary about Yoshiaki Kawajiri and his impact on 90s anime. I've got another serious review on the way, a review of Miyazaki movies, and so many more great stuff for this year. Don't miss out on any of these goodies and subscribe to the channel. Well, that's it from me. I'll see you all next time. Ciao.